given quite a free rein to design and make. Obviously David and Dan, and obviously our department will have an input in some areas of it. This year, for example, I had to show Tyn's dagger and Nim's whip and Obara's spear and Ariot's axe, but they're the only items that I had to pre-show prior to making. But this year I was very happy with Ariot's axe. It came out the way I wanted it, and it looks quite opulent for the world that it's in. It's approximately 7 feet, if maybe slightly even more. It's quite a big axe. Design-wise, it's just I knew where I wanted to go with it, with the filigree and the dressing, and obviously with the Dorn snakes, that kind of scenario. So we got some Swarovski diamonds, one inset in the middle in the crest, and there's another one in the bursting sun. There's a bearing in there, which is basically see-through, so you can actually see right through it. Once the sun hits it, it's translucent, so it gives it a lovely sheen to it, beautiful red. Obara's spear was exactly what we had last year for the Viper himself. It's a version of that, and again that's keeping in the same wave on the blade. It has a crisp blade to make sure that we were in the same world of the Dorn family. We've done whips before, but they've been sort of not plain, but quite straightforward. So this year I wanted to take over the whip scenario and design then a basic snake intertwining the handle. So it's all about the snake, and then obviously the whip coming out of the snake's mouth. So it's creating the whip as the tongue and just having it like that. So it's a lovely sculpt and a good bronze figurine for that. So Tyin again has a double daggers. She's quite agile with them. The daggers I liked because what I did with them is I just basically had a snake intertwining and crisscrossing, and I used her tails as the quilling, so we would use that as a block point, and then again a wave on the blade, which is called a crisp blade. They turned out very well. I was very happy with them.
The job of the production designer, just like any sort of aspect of the filmmaking process, always begins with a text. And so from there is where we launch the whole art department. And what that means, just like for an actor who creates a character that an audience believe in, the job of the art department is to create worlds and environments that the audience believe in. And hopefully through long processes whereby we involve obviously construction, paint, plaster, set decoration, we complete a world that is, in a sense, completely real within the world of Game of Thrones. And I think where Game of Thrones actually needs a lot of credit is actually we really try and keep a lot of scenes in camera. So for as much as possible, we create total environments. I mean, it's an extraordinary thing to be able to build a 360-degree space. On every level, we try and be very thoughtful and mindful of the colours that relate to the character involved, their status in society, and what do we want an audience to know about them as they're moving through the landscape. We were looking at the world of Dorn and the Spanish and Moorish influence. The exciting thing about Dorn is it's the warmest of the climates that we visit. It's also incredibly exotic. And so I think it was a real opportunity for us to introduce colour into the world as well. You know, these people are much more into sort of oranges and blues, and there's a real vibrancy and energy about the city or about the place. And so Seville in Spain was the natural place for us to start. And we were absolutely beyond lucky being able to shoot in the Alcazar. The thing that was really interesting about the Osuna bull ring as opposed to any other bull ring that we sort of managed to source was that, in a sense, it was just very plain. It had sort of the stone bleachers, and what that meant was it really had a fantastic relationship automatically with marine. So being able to work with what was essentially quite a blank palette meant that it had a very close relationship to the sort of the architectural language that we'd already established. And I also enjoyed the very big pillars at the side with the angles on them, which related to the pyramidal style architecture we'd already used. And what we had to design there was a royal box for Dany and her guys to be in. And what that meant was we were able to do a completely clean build out in that arena there. It was a completely different style of construction. It was a full-on building site for weeks, and it's just a function of this show, because we're doing so much at once, is phenomenal. So it was something that, from my perspective, I'd never seen done before.
We start with the script, we'll step through the fight and then work out what the journeys of the characters are, how many people are involved, and then we'll start just playing with ideas. Someone will have thought of a move or a disarm. And then so basically you have a little melting pot of people. I bring stunt guys in. We shoot the sequence. We'll cut a rough edit with a rough idea how it might look, but they show what the idea of the fight or the sequence might be. Kit's doing most of it himself. He's doing all the fighting. He moves really well. He's great. The thing about Christopher, you don't have to build him up, you have to just rein him back a little bit. And not in a dangerous, reckless way, he's just full on. And the stunt guys love it. So it was really cool working with him. Ian's another one that doesn't pull too much. You know, he picks up the fights really well, wants to do it all himself, so we hardly use the double. Jessica was living in London. Rosa comes from Italy. Keisha from New Zealand. So we had to train all those guys remotely. So you've got spear, double daggers. We've also got an 8-foot whip. We arranged for traders in each country, and they rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed before the sequence was shot. We've got lots going on. We've got people jumping off cliffs. We've got boats turning over. We've got some really big kills going on, throwing people everywhere. I had 50 stunt guys shooting a huge sequence. There's a lot of stunt people for a film, let alone a TV show. My team and I seem to slip in okay, and it is kind of like a big family, so I think it's going to be amazing.
It's time to raise the gates on the greatest moments from Game of Thrones.
Oh, it's amazing. It's frightening.
As voted by you.
It's about survival, it's about power, it's about revenge.
For 5 seasons, we've had plot hatching and character dispatching.
You're like crying at the screaming, like, no!
There's been power and corruption.
Bring me his head.
This is not a Robin Hood movie here where 3 guys are going to swing over the fence.
No one's safe in this world.
All these no-go areas, we just go right into them.
You want to know how power works, what it does to people, what people do to get it, watch Game of Thrones. You don't need to put panorama on.
Put down the crossbow.
We asked you to vote for your favourites, and the tally is in.
God, that scene was perfect.
So strap in and steel yourself.
It's terrifying.
It's the 20 greatest moments from Game of Thrones.
Kill everyone, sit on the Iron Throne, and watch it snow.
At number 20, it's a moment of eye-watering vengeance as Arya Stark takes a major scalp from her kill list.
I'm glad he left me you.
It was just such a fantastic way to go. You know, if you're going to go on this show, try and go spectacularly.
That scene where she kills Maren Trant is so twisted.
Amazing, amazing.
In season 5, this orphan and her list of people who've destroyed her world has taken refuge in Braavos.
Maren Trant.
I just love that she's got a list. You know, I love that. I've got a list.
It's a kill list shaped by 4 seasons of loss.
Arya is the most sympathetic character for me of all, because losing both parents, she will have an utterly skewed view of life. She doesn't know any different. She has seen such brutality that she treats like with like.
And she's been tutored by one of the best killers in Westeros, the Hound.
You're learning.
She learns to become stronger and fight, and also she's after revenge.
And so, in Braavos, while training to be a faceless man, to forget her past and become no one, fate delivers too much temptation for Arya to resist.
I figured once I got the orders to go to Braavos, I was in trouble.
It was just too poetic, Maren Trant turning up.
I generally thought that she was going to say no. The faceless man wants her to be no one because she's on a mission. She's got to do something else. She's no one. That's not her. But she does, and it's wicked.
Not since the Red Viper's death has there been a more gruesome offing.
Maisie and I, very early, we decided that we really had to go for it.
Bears all during his season 3 dip with Brienne of Tarth. It's the perfect place to cleanse your soul as well as your body.
Up until this point, Jaime Lannister has been this kind of strutting cock of the show, the Kingslayer who is the best in Westeros with a sword.
You're supposed to get me to King's Landing in one piece. Not going so well, is it? No wonder Renly died with you guarding it.
For him to lose his hand, he basically loses every bit of that kind of massive ego he used to have.
I was unworthy, forgive me. You protected me better than most.
Don't you mock me?
Unapologizing.
Jaime is delirious. His stump has gotten infected, and he's been through all this stuff with Brienne. So there's this sort of bond, and she's judging him. She has contempt for him, and he doesn't want her to have contempt for him, because in some sense he's come to admire her, and he wants her approbation. And it all comes out in that scene.
You all despise me. Kingslayer, Oathbreaker, man without honor.
It's a revelatory scene. He's revealing his viewpoint of what happened and his great sin, which, of course, according to the kingdom, was killing Ares, the Mad King.
He told me to bring him my father's head. Then he turned to his pyromancer. Burn them all, he said. Burn them in their homes, burn them in their beds.
Jaime in this scene is digging deep and expressing feelings and memories that he has never expressed to anyone. Maybe not even to himself.
Tell me if your precious Renly commanded you to kill your own father and stand by while thousands of men, women and children burned alive, would you have done it? Would you have kept your oath then?
Everybody assumes he is one kind of person until this moment, and all it takes is a moment of vulnerability and honesty from this man to change all that.
You can't help but root for him, and you can't help but root for the friendship, the relationship between him and Brienne.
You think the Honorable Ned Stark wanted to hear my side? He judged me guilty the moment he set eyes on me. By what right does the wolf judge the lion? By what right?
The Kingslayer!
For him, it's his lowest point, but as a human being and as a viewer, it's his highest point.
Jaime. My name's Jaime.
It's one of the best written scenes in TV that I've ever seen.
Some of the dialogue that was written there was incredible. I've never seen better.
At number 17, two shadow advisors, Littlefinger and Varys, hold a war of words.
Forged in the fiery breath of
I love those two. I love their interactions.
It is flattering, really. You feeling such dread at the prospect of me getting what I want. Thwarting you has never been my primary ambition, I promise you. Although who doesn't like to see their friends fail now and then?
This scene is really menacing. It's got an ominous feeling that something dreadful is about to happen.
Your confidant, the one who fed you information about my plans, the one you swore to protect. You didn't bring her any enjoyment.
Littlefinger's like one of my secret favourite characters just because I love watching him, but I don't like him.
He's really just all-round terrifying man who you do not want to cross. But I think most people underestimate him and find that out way too late.
He's like a snake. You have to watch him all the time.
Luckily, I have a friend who wants to try something new, something daring.
I think Varys has a better moral compass than Littlefinger.
I did what...
He's possibly one of the few people in Westeros who has an agenda that's bigger than himself.
The realm. Do you know what the realm is? It's the 1,000 blades of Aegon's enemies. A story we agree to tell each other over and over till we forget that it's a lie. But what do we have left once we abandon the lie? Chaos. A gaping pit waiting to swallow us all. Chaos isn't a pit. Chaos is a ladder.
It's the chaos that is like Littlefinger's cloak in a way, and it covers a lot of his moves, and he slips his wily way through things. He thrives in chaos.
Many who try to climb it fail, never get to try again. The fall breaks them.
He really drives the point home that nothing really matters except power.
This is the game, the way he likes to play the game.
And some are given a chance to climb, but they refuse. They cling to the realm, or the gods, or love.
This is the point at which we realize he's one of those power players and that he means business.
Only the ladder is real. The climb is all there is.
It summarizes so well what Game of Thrones is all about. It's a game of power.
This is where Game of Thrones sets its stall out, that this probably isn't a show that you're going to want to watch with your gran.
It's shocking because you don't think things are going to happen to kids.
Everything that went wrong for the Starks happened when he climbed that wall.
At number 16, it's the moment that sets everything in motion.
Bran, you know, he's like his father. He wants to get out there and do stuff. So basically he starts climbing the walls of the castle.
They set it up, don't they? You know, don't go climbing, all the way through. It's very, very clear that I suppose it's the seed planted that we then see why.
Well, I was about 10 when that happened, so being a 10-year-old boy getting to go on a wire was pretty cool. And when you're filming it, it's kind of intense. I don't know if I quite grasped, perhaps, the intensity of the scene.
It's beautifully paced in that you know he's going to find something at the top of this tower and eventually comes across a scene that a young man should not see.
You can see that Jaime's having sex with somebody, but then you kind of think that it must just be some wench that he's picked up from Winterfell, and then eventually her face is shown and it's his sister.
It's really funny because he's kind of like that's that like prince that little girls draw. And the strange thing about he's this sugary character, but he's sleeping with his sister.
Obviously, I didn't see any of it while we were filming.
Stop!
But yeah, you certainly got that these were strange people.
Are you completely mad?
He saw us.
That's all right, it's all right, it's all right.
He saw us.
I heard you the first time.
In the very first episode, we're shown that one of the key relationships in the whole series is taboo. It's the most forbidden relationship of all.
You know, Game of Thrones, incest, violence, whatever, it's sort of not normal, but it's sort of, you know, the language of the programme now. But at the time, certainly it was hugely shocking.
Quite the little climb, aren't you? How old are you, boy?
10.
10.
Jaime is trying to please his sister. She's in a complete panic. The fact that Bran has seen him because she knows what it means, but he knows what it means too, and he knows that if the incest is discovered, not only will he and his sister be put to death, but their 3 children may very well too.
I think it's a fantastic moment because it sets up the tone of Game of Thrones so well. In a conventional drama, Jaime might cuff Bran round the ear and say, "Go away, don't tell anyone about this." But no, what he does is far more shocking.
And he does it almost with a punchline.
The things I do for love.
As a viewer, it's one of those shocking moments that you possibly think no human being would ever do that to a child.
In a lot of other series, children would be this untouchable, innocent, pure thing who some bad things might happen to them, but not horrific things. In Game of Thrones, horrific things happen to the children just as much as the adults.
Next, a game-changing moment as a would-be queen gets a powerful and unlikely new ally.
The brilliant thing about Game of Thrones, you have these surprises, you have these shocks, you have these epic moments, and then you have extraordinary interplay between two characters.
Tyrion's the one that's the brains behind everything.
I think they might be a pretty good combination of someone that is morally good and strong and powerful, Daenerys, and someone who is a bit sneaky.
I brought you a gift!
Captured by Ser Jorah and delivered as a peace offering, Tyrion could well be meeting his maker. His family has bad blood with the Targaryens.
I am the gift. It's a pleasure to meet you, Your Grace. My name is Tyrion Lannister.
I like the balls on the guy, you know, just walking up to this ruler, knowing who he was, knowing who she was.
Jaime is responsible for killing her father.
He's called the Kingslayer specifically because he slayed the Mad King, Daenerys' dad. There was potential for a bit of bloodshed there.
How the hell can Tyrion get out of this?
I am the greatest Lannister killer of our time.
So I should welcome you into my service because you murdered members of your own family?
Into your service. Your Grace, we have only just met. It's too soon to know if you deserve my service.
He's so bright. He plays it so well. And she's so bright. And she understands what he's saying. He's going to absolutely ally himself to her. And between them, they are an extraordinary force.
She's the one that will move them into the future. She's the one that has no barriers.
And then these two exiles talk bad dads and politics.
My father, who publicly sentenced me to death. I'd say his thoughts on having me killed were abundantly clear.
That's a very good alliance. I mean, after what Tyrion's gone through, killed his dad, I mean, he don't want to be associated with his family anymore. To pick a family other than the Lannisters, I think he'd done a good choice.
I know what my father was. What he did. I know the Mad King earned his name.
It was actually kind of lovely, like, seeing those two talk, because they do both have this sense of morality.
I'm not going to kill you.
No? Banish me?
No.
So if I'm not going to be murdered and I'm not going to be banished...
You're going to advise me.
I think the really important thing about Game of Thrones is that nothing's black and white. And I think Daenerys recognises that actually this might not be the most ideal pairing, but there is something that she can use him for.
He will tell people when they're a fool, and I think Daenerys sees that and knows that he's not going to be a sycophant.
And Daenerys has a plan for revolution.
Not impossible. Not enough.
Lannister, Targaryen, Baratheon, Stark, Tyrell. They're all just spokes on a wheel. This one's on top, then that one's on top, and on it spins, crushing those on the ground.
It's a beautiful dream. Stopping the wheel. You're not the first person who's ever dreamt it.
I'm not going to stop the wheel. I'm going to break the wheel.
She wants to break the wheel, which is bad for Tommen and everyone around him that's Lannister and Tyrell, because that means she's coming for them.
It's Season 2's epic Battle of Blackwater, and Tyrion's tactic of wiping out the opposition in one fell swoop has almost worked. But with King's Landing still under siege, it's time for him to step up and rally the beleaguered troops.
In that kind of world, as a man, you have to be tall and strong and powerful, and he is powerful, but in a different way. You know, he's fighting with his mind more than with his sword.
Prepare to land. Your Grace, the dwarf has played his little trick.
I think in Game of Thrones, what it shows is that anything can happen to anyone. You have handsome princes who are the best swordsmen, get their hands cut off. You have children who are thrown from the top of towers. And here you have Tyrion, who is always seen as a half man and mocked, finally have this heroic moment.
They say I am half a man. But what does that make the lot of you?
The only way out is through the gates. And they're at the gates.
There's another way out. I'm going to show you. We'll come out behind them and fuck them in their asses.
First of all, it's incredibly brave. He doesn't have to fight. There's no expectation of him to fight because of his disability. He steps forward and says, I am but half a man, but here I am standing up beside you. That's what I think like a once more into the breach speech would really be like.
He's good at talking, isn't he? That's Tyrion's thing. He could talk himself out of any situation and he could sell anything to anybody. That's his thing. He's clever and he's eloquent and he's witty and he knows how to connect with the men that he needs to connect with.
Don't fight for your king, and don't fight for his kingdoms. Don't fight for honor, don't fight for glory. Don't fight for riches because he won't get any.
As an heroic character, A is a brilliant piece of plotting, but it also draws attention to what we expect from heroes.
This is your city Stannis means to sack. That's your gate he's ramming. If he gets in, it will be your houses he burns. Your gold he steals. Your women he will rape.
I was lucky enough to be right next to him when he was doing it, and I don't know how many times we shot it and reshot it, but every time Peter did it, it was incredible.
When he says these words that I wrote for Tyrion, it's just like I pictured them in my head, just like I heard them in my head when I was writing them.
Those are brave men knocking at our door. Let's go kill them.
The gates were shut on either side, and the tension that built up within this, it was honestly, it's like everybody in the extras, myself, all the other guys, we would have followed them into battle right there and then. We were convinced everybody's blood was boiling and everybody was ready to go. It was quite remarkable to see the difference that one guy talking can make to so many people.
At number 30.
Come together and help each other.
Probably was cheering. Probably in my living room, like, ah. I can't wait to see what, happens to them.
If they've survived that jump, as I hope and presume they have, I'll be looking forward to find out what happens.
No good will come of that. I mean, they should never have left.
I think they're going to be okay.
When we started watching Game of Thrones, we thought that the story was going to be about Ned Stark. We're used to looking at this sort of drama like cowboy films, where there is the white hats and the black hats, and he was a white hat, he was a good man, and you don't kill off the good man in the first series.
At number 12, it's the moment that redefined TV drama and stunned audiences and cast members alike.
When I first, and I'm not the only one, read the script, I got to the end, it says he has his head cut off, and I thought, no, I've missed something. I've only been reading Pycelle in this script, I'm just going to read it properly. So I started every single word of the script, because I knew I'd missed something that would explain this ending. No, I hadn't missed anything at all.
It was at that moment you realised what Game of Thrones was really about and what risks the show was willing to take to kind of entertain and torment their audience.
I am Eddard Stark, Lord of Winterfell and Hand of the King.
Wrongly accused of treason and aware that Sansa has struck a deal to save his life, Ned, for once, puts honour aside and throws himself on the mercy of the king.
I come before you to confess my treason in the sight of gods and men.
He does do what has been suggested to him, and that is that he does confess to treason. Although sticks in his craw, obviously, but he does do it. Because he's been given reason to believe that if he does that, okay, he may end up in the wall, but he will not be killed. But then he didn't reckon with Joffrey.
My mother wishes me to let Lord Eddard join the Night's Watch. Stripped of all titles and powers, he would serve the realm in permanent exile. And my lady Sansa has begged mercy for her father. But they've the soft hearts of women. So long as I am your king, treason shall never go unpunished. Sir Ilyn, bring me his head.
Nobody knew, not even Cersei, knew what Joffrey was going to do there.
And that's the power of drama, basically, and the shock. It's the shock value. That's when you realise nobody is safe in this world at all.
Now that Joffrey's in power, you see that there's a whole shift in this Game of Thrones. This is the person now in control, and he doesn't have mercy, and even his mum can't control him.
When he actually says, "Give me his head," that's when his mother goes potty. And that's when he really revels in the discomfort that he has caused every other single person in that square.
And no one is more distraught than Ned's youngest daughter, Arya, who bears witness to the horrific scene from agonisingly close by.
The way the execution is shot, and you see it with her watching, makes it far worse.
She's very brave. She does want to look. You know, her sister Sansa's crying, but she is just staring at her dad, willing it not to be.
Her desire to save her father with direct action is really part of her character. And of course, defines her, at least in that moment, from her sister, who had also tried to save her father, but by negotiation.
That moment was just so well played out. You just thought, oh, surely he can't die. Surely they can't behead Ned Stark.
You think, well, there's going to be something. There'll be someone will shout something. Arya's going to get there. There'll be something, definitely.
When he was ordered to be executed, I still didn't think it was going to happen. Up to that point, I think, along with everybody else watching it, they didn't quite understand the brutality of the show.
This is not a Robin Hood movie here where three guys are going to swing over the fence and beat the 37 guardsmen who are surrounding the merry man who's about to be hung. I try to be a little more realistic than that.
And then they just do it.
The birds take to the air, and just the way it was filmed, it was tremendously powerful. That was the only scene that really has brought a tear to my eye.
That was the worst TV experience of my life up to that point. And Game of Thrones has given me at least 3 or 4 more of those. That was a bad day in the Lightbody household.
Don't rule her out. Do not rule Cersei Lannister out. She will be back. Be afraid.
It was just as powerful watching it in the flesh as it was seeing it back on screen.
It's such a difficult scene to watch because I love Tyrion. I mean, he's one of the good guys. He is the good guy.
It was so emotional. All of us should feel guilty what we have done and what we are doing to him.
It's the trial of the century. Tyrion Lannister, wrongly accused of regicide, is about to take a deal which would save his life, but see him living out his days at the Wall. But then the prosecution wheels out its star witness.
I almost cried. I didn't want to do it.
This man stands accused of murdering King Joffrey. What do you know of this?
I know that he's guilty. He and Sansa planned together.
Silence!
I talked to the producers and I said, please, could you just change it somehow? She really loved Tyrion. And now she's there and lying.
I was his whore.
I beg your pardon? You said you were his...
His whore.
I cried in that scene and I get emotional just thinking about it because seeing her come in and betray him like that and calling herself a whore when you know that she's so much more than that to him is so difficult.
Shay. Please don't.
I am a whore. Remember?
For Tyrion, his lover's betrayal is too much to bear. It triggers an outburst which leaves the court and us reeling.
You admit you poisoned the king?
No. Of that I'm innocent. I'm guilty of a far more monstrous crime. I'm guilty of being a dwarf.
You are not on trial for being a dwarf.
Oh, yes I am. I've been on trial for that my entire life.
He finally has an opportunity and an audience to address what everyone has been thinking about him his whole life. And, you know, here's a man who risked his life for these people, who's always fought against the prejudice that he faces from his family, probably from everybody that he meets, and he's innocent.
I did not do it. I did not kill Joffrey, but I wish that I had. Watching your vicious bastard die gave me more relief than 1,000 lying whores.
And of course, at the same time, the audience, and we there at the time, were experiencing the pleasure of seeing him at last saying what he really thought, which we know he must have been thinking for the whole of his life. And to hear him doing that at that scene was almost orgasmic to watch.
I wish I was the monster you think I am. I wish I had enough poison for the whole pack of you. I would gladly give my life to watch you all swallow it. Miэрina!
It's so moving and it's so powerful. It just sort of pours out of Peter's heart. And it's an amazing, amazing moving scene.
At number 9, it's the moment fans have been waiting for since the birth of those little fire breathers. Will Daenerys finally take to the skies on Drogon Airways?
On the back of a dragon has always been the symbol of the Targaryens coming to claim their power.
Ever since those eggs hatched, we just knew that one day she was going to get on the back of a dragon and fly off and cause havoc.
Throughout Game of Thrones, there is one love story that has gripped us all. One girl and her dragons.
Love dragons. Dragons are great. I'm Welsh. The way they've handled the relationship between her and the dragons has been epic, because you believe it.
If you remember back to when she was a 13-year-old little girl, the journey she's come on is incredible.
Well, the dragons in themselves are hugely symbolic because they represent power as much as anything else. And she possesses a great deal of power as a potential queen, as an actual Khaleesi, and the dragons in some way symbolise that.
It's in her blood. You know, that's the story we've been led to believe, that it's in her blood. Therefore, of course, she's going to connect with the dragon and she's going to have a love and respect for it.
More so than the other two dragons, I think. Drogon's always kind of been there for Dany. He's her #1 baby.
But Drogon gets too big for Daenerys to control, and he abandons her.
You want to see Daenerys being strong and powerful and taking charge because she genuinely wants to help.
But her good intentions aren't working out, as she is also losing control of Meereen.
She ends up in this conflict. She realises that to get people entirely on her side and to run the place, she's either got to repress them or entertain them.
And so, against her better judgment, she reopens the fighting pits.
Those pits are the ultimate Roman Emperor-style bread and circuses distraction. As long as people are watching the sport they love, they're not going to start complaining about the politicians.
It is unfortunately taken advantage of by the Sons of Harpy.
The Sons of Harpy are the enemy within, who oppose the new regime.
Protect your queen!
And they decide that it's going to be the perfect ambush, and they spring their trap.
They are surrounding her completely. And this is Game of Thrones, so you think, well, she's probably going to die.
I mean, especially when compared to what moments before, we thought, that's it. She ain't getting out of this one.
There's a moment where she closes her eyes. I think she was looking for a saviour. I think she might have felt like, I need Drogon. If I knew Drogon was here.
And woof, in he comes.
That's really what you want for this TV spectacle. You want these dragons coming out of the sky.
And it's such an uplifting moment. It really was.
Classic kind of from the jaws of defeat.
That was magical. That was very magical.
She, of course, who thinks that Drogon is beyond her control now, suddenly they're reunited, which is an incredibly powerful moment.
And when the dragon has all the spears in his back, and she pulls one of them out, I love that. adventure.
And so, after 5 seasons, the young Targaryen finally climbs on board.
About time she got on that dragon.
Who doesn't get chills when they see that moment? And all of a sudden, she's flying off. Huh, yeah, it's classic.
Who wouldn't want to fly off on a dragon, let's be honest.
How exhilarating was Daenerys flying off?
Her actually becoming a dragon rider, that's her claiming her birthright, more than I think anything else we've seen her do.
It was the money shot of season 5, was seeing Daenerys ride off on a dragon. It was what we've been waiting for ages.
I really just want her to get over and start fighting the others, because that would be really interesting.
I kind of just feel bad for all of them that Daenerys just hopped on the dragon and then just was like, later, like, sorry, I just gotta get on here. Wish you had your own dragon, but you know.
At number 8, it's a moment of brutal Shakespearean betrayal that took us all by surprise.
If it was the 50th episode of Game of Thrones, we should have known better than to think that Jon Snow was safe.
By the end of season 5, and against all odds, Jon Snow has risen to the lofty height of Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. It's a position that's ruffled a few crow's feathers, but his bold scheme to unite with the wildlings against the White Walkers is one step too far.
All they've ever known is these guys are the enemies. We do not fraternize with them. We do not go anywhere near them. They don't come anywhere near us. And all of a sudden, Jon is taking it upon himself to break down that barrier.
First Ranger, you have commanded Castle Black.
Lord Commander, it is my duty to tell you I believe this mission to be reckless, foolhardy, and an insult to all the brothers who have died fighting the wildlands.
People are not ready for that. The Night's Watch especially are not ready for that, because that's what they've spent their entire lives doing.
I mean, I think Jon Snow was on the right track trying to make peace with the wildlings, but obviously the others didn't. It's one of the great things about Game of Thrones. Somebody could be morally right and trying to do the right thing, but people just can't see it. They're blinded by their own ignorance.
Jon Snow has been a beacon of nobility and pride.
He's the ultimate good guy, the guy who's fought so much, who's loved and lost, who has maintained his honor, his dignity. He's the most noble.
Jon Snow even takes a young orphan under his wing, mentoring him as he once was.
Come, try it again. Drive at me. Keep your shield up, or I'll ring your head like a bell.
He's obviously chosen Ollie to give him a chance, you know, and to develop him as a man.
Feel that way about Jon. He probably has enjoyed him being his mentor and just thinks, I don't really want to do this, but I have to do it. Really, I mean, really a beautiful moment.
I found it really upsetting. He wasn't allowed a brave death. It was a tragic betrayal. He gave his life to the Night's Watch, and they repaid him by killing him.
I am very firmly of the opinion that Jon Snow will be back.
But he ain't going to come back as himself, is he? Maybe he'll come back as a White Walker.
Is Jon Snow dead? How many people have asked me that question? I don't know.
This scene's brilliant because it matches the shock and surprise of what happens with how graphically it's portrayed.
It's got everything. It's got tension. You don't know what's going to happen. It's beautifully shot. It involves all your favorite characters. And of course, it's utterly heartbreaking, which is what you want from a Game of Thrones scene.
Having faced down his dad in court, Tyrion has now turned to his last resort, the trial by combat. With the mountain representing the crown, the odds are stacked against Tyrion, whose life now rests in the hands of his champion, Oberyn Martell, the Red Viper.
Looks like very light armor.
I like to move around.
You could at least wear a helmet.
I mean, trial by combat, you can get someone to fight for your honor, so whether you're wrong or not, as long as they win the fight, that's what matters.
Oberyn, yeah, he was super hot, which I appreciate as a viewer, but also smart and mercenary and creepy and all of those things. I thought he was an awesome character. I wanted him to last a lot. longer.
So on the one hand, you've got the prince, the dashing, charismatic, handsome prince, and then on the other side, you've got the mountain, pretty much the embodiment of hatred and brutality.
You're going to fight that?
I'm going to kill that.
You don't know that much about him. All you know about him is the fact that he's a bad, bad, bad guy.
He was enormous!
The Viper has his own agenda for taking on the mountain. Vengeance.
I'm going to hear you confess before you die. You raped my sister. You murdered her. You killed her children. Say it now and we can make this quick.
You think you know what's going to happen. And in this case, you think right up to the end you know who's won. And it was what you thought. Well, you thought it would be difficult, but he would win.
You killed her children!
The mountain's on his back, he's literally coughing up blood. You know, the prince is kind of looking around at the adoring crowd, and you think for a second, okay, he's done it, he's really done it.
Before he kills him, he needs to make him realise that he's been brought to justice for doing these things.
In Westeros, the pursuit of justice is as futile as anything else, that you can try and call people to account, but something will catch you out.
No, you can't die yet. You haven't confessed. Say it. Say her name. Oberinia Mартелла.
And he spends a little too much time gloating and bragging and trying to embarrass the Lannisters in public, in their own backyard.
Who gave you the order? Say her name!
Unfortunately for the prince, his confidence is his undoing. He wins the battle, but he has a moment of hubris where he lets his guard down and he looks over to his girlfriend, very pleased with himself.
And by this stage, you know very much what show you're watching, so you're expecting it not to go well for the Viper because he's talking too much. So from that point on, I thought, oh God, just shut up, get him, kill him, please stop, please don't do it.
Say it!
We all know what happens next.
Oh, God, it's awful.
Oberinia Mартелла! I killed her children! Then I raped her! Then I smashed her head in like this!
That's quite a lot of energy to do that disgusting thing.
I'm like, no, I can't watch. I'm like, no, I can't believe it's going to happen, please.
The most horrific, brutal murder.
Yes, this smashing his head. That's one of the fantastic deaths, I have to say. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was gross.
Tyrion Lannister, in the name of King Tommen of the House Baratheon, first of his name, you're hereby sentenced to death.
Always wear a helmet.
This was the showdown to end all showdowns.
In Westeros, you can't get family therapy, can you? The purest form of conflict resolution is to kill your dad.
At number 6, it's the nerve-jangling face-off between Tyrion and his father, who not only sentenced him to death for a crime he didn't commit, he also slept with the woman he loved.
Tyrion, put down the crossbow.
I think it's very significant that he's on the toilet. It sums up that he's trapped and he's vulnerable.
There's no guards in the loo, not where you're sitting having a crap. There's no guards around.
But it's very humiliating for him as well. It's a private moment.
This is how you want to speak to me? Shaming your father has always given you pleasure, hasn't it?
All my life, you've wanted me dead.
Yes. But you refused to die. I respect that. Even admire it. You fight for what's yours. I'd never let them execute you. Is that what you fear? I'll never let ill in pain take your head. You're a Lannister. You're my son.
It's so tightly wound, this scene, because Tyrion's obviously, he's at the end of his rope. What's brilliant about him, he's so well portrayed, you can see yourself doing this.
I loved her.
Who?
Shay.
Tyrion. Put down that crossbow.
I murdered her. With my own hands.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
She was a whore.
And Tywin was like, who? The whore? And, you know, still insulting him, you know, doesn't respect him and his love.
We'll go back to my chambers and speak with some dignity.
I can't go back there. She's in there.
Are you afraid of a dead whore?
Yeah, I think Tyrion's sitting on years and years and years and years of anger and frustration and resentment.
And then, after he's been shot by the first arrow, Tywin's true colours come out.
You're no son of mine. I am your son. I have always been your son.
When he releases that arrow, he releases everything into him. It's really so silent, so powerful.
One of the things I really love about Game of Thrones is there are characters who appear who you know are going to at some point meet a sticky end, and it's just a question of how and a question of when.
Daenerys! At number 5, it's a golden oldie from season 1, as Viserys gets his reward for trading his sister for an army in order to reclaim the Iron Throne.
Go on, feel the fabric.
He's basically pimped out his sister, and he's quite proud of that.
She's the only bargaining chip he has. He doesn't have any wealth anymore. He doesn't have any armies, but he has her, who he can trade to this horse lord.
We go home with an army. With Khal Drogo's army. I would let his whole tribe fuck you. All 40,000 men and their horses too, if that's what it took.
He threatens her sexually, time and time again. And at this point, she's a real ingenue, you know, she's really small and young, and it's just disgusting.
He was utterly, utterly revolting. And you felt so, and that was the moment that she escaped from her shell, when she became the woman and not the kowtowed girl.
Much to her brother's dismay, Daenerys and Drogo end up getting on rather well, and she becomes pregnant with his son. Jealous, desperate and drunk, Viserys finally decides to call in his debt.
Daenerys! Where's my sister?
Viserys has to be the most deluded, arrogant character in the history of TV. I mean, why would you start a fight with Khal Drogo, of all people? The man is huge, and it's in his tent, and all his friends are around, so you're never going to win.
Keep away from me!
Viserys, please.
Very often you get a scene like this where you think, oh, right, okay, it's all about to go horribly wrong. It's normally when someone asks for something they can't have, and Viserys is asking for the thing he will never be allowed to have, which is to be king.
Tell him I want what was bargained for, or I'm taking you back. He can keep the baby. I'll cut it out and leave it for him.
He just completely underestimates not only Dany, but Khal Drogo.
What's he saying?
He says yes. You shall have a golden crown that men shall tremble to behold.
There was nothing more satisfying than seeing Khal Drogo play along with him and just say, tell him he can have it. Just see Viserys' face.
But that was all I wanted. What was promised?
The stillness in him and the knowing is petrifying. He has all of the strength and he knows exactly what he's going to do.
You don't exactly see it coming, but you know something pretty bad's going to happen. It's actually probably the most gruesome death in the whole of Game of Thrones, which is really saying something.
Look away, Khaleesi.
No.
Daenerys shows absolutely no remorse. She absolutely despises him, and there is no love lost between them.
I think that's one of the first sins where you see like her inner strength. You know, she's definitely got like I think she's got a rod of iron inside her.
A crown for king.
I love that sound as well. You know, it's dunk. His head hits the floor. It's so good.
Oh my goodness, it's one of the great cathartic moments in the whole of modern TV drama, I would say.
I think everybody who watches Game of Thrones was hoping this day would come. There must have been great cheering across the realm the day that Joffrey died.
At number 4, it's the wedding that is everyone's happiest day, except for the bridegroom, who marries his great beauty in Westeros, but will never make it to his bridal bed.
Very good, very good. Off you go.
Marjorie and Joffrey's wedding is one of those weddings that we all have to go to where there's no love in the room. Nobody's there for any other reason other than they'd probably be executed if they hadn't showed face.
A gold dragon to whoever knocks my fool's hat off.
He's a bully. He's a miserable kid with absolute power.
He thinks he is completely untouchable.
Everyone, silence!
Just when you think that it can't get any more ridiculous and he can't be any more rude and awful, he then brings on his dwarf show.
I give you King Joffrey, Renly, Stannis, Robb Stark, Balon Greyjoy, the War of the Five Kings!
The director intentionally didn't show us what was going to happen before that scene because he wanted to get the real looks of horror on our faces.
He pushes and he pushes and he pushes and he keeps on pushing at people and insulting people and offending people.
Joffrey is the ultimate sadist. I mean, that's where he gets his pleasure from. So for him, this actually is a way to spend a happy day. So when he gets the opportunity to humiliate Tyrion, he seizes it with both hands.
Uncle, you can be my cupbearer, seeing as you're too cowardly to fight.
Your Grace does me a great honor.
It's not meant as an honor.
The way he treats Tyrion is totally despicable. He sees it as an opportunity to wield his power because he can. You know, be my cupbearer, pick that up.
You really feel Tyrion's humiliation. You feel every single blow with him.
Kneel. Kneel before your king.
It's a slow bleed. How much more humiliation is he going to incur at his own wedding day?
I said, kneel!
And how long is it going to go on before he finally gets it?
And get it he does. After 3 and a bit seasons of Joffrey's evil antics, his chickens, or in this case pigeons, have finally come home to roost.
My hero. He was pushing it far too far, but then, of course, then you realise why. It's because they're setting it up for this wonderful moment where he begins to choke.
If it please your Grace, Lady Sansa is
No.
very tired.
No, you'll wait here. I'm...
Your Grace.
There's nothing. He's choking! Oh, the poor boy!
Oh, just the best possible way that he could have gone.
His face becomes completely bloodshot in the most unpleasant way. I can't imagine there's anyone sitting at home who's not cheering, in fact, standing up and possibly opening bottles of champagne when that happens.
I thought it was absolutely magnificent because it obviously really hurt.
Jack Leeson did an incredible job with that scene. The look in his eyes, it gave the scene a poignance.
That's one of my favourite deaths because not only do you see a kind of gruesome death, but you see that character's soul go to hell.
Personally, I would have liked his death to have been slightly more drawn out. I mean, it must have been painful and he did bleed from the eyes, but, you know, you could have given me another full minute of Joffrey, you know, choking on his own blood. I would have been happy with that.
It's the first time that we really see Dany take control. You start to see, like, you know, proper badass Dany.
At number 3 is the mind-blowing moment Daenerys completes her transformation from innocent girl to warrior queen. All by stepping into Khal Drogo's funeral pyre, along with 3 dragon eggs.
She has just burned one of her enemies, but it underlines Daenerys' newfound ruthlessness and willingness to wield her power.
At the point in which she walks into the fire, she has no family left. So she's lost her brother, her husband, she's lost her child, and she's made a decision, and she's like, it's almost her walking into her, like, destiny, I guess.
Another of my favorite scenes. She's walking under the fire, you don't know what's going to happen. There's a witch being burnt, screaming to death on the right. So much happening.
Obviously, walking into the fire, it looks suicidal, and in a way, a part of her is dying, her innocence is dying.
I think there's a possibility she's walking into her death. I think if you've watched the show closely, there are moments, even from early on, when she's in a really hot bathwater where she doesn't feel anything. When she sees her brother die by having molten gold poured on his head, she's actually quite scornful.
He was no dragon. Fire cannot kill a dragon.
Even though you suspect she might live, you don't suspect that dragons are suddenly going to come out of it.
I thought for a split second she was going to turn into a dragon. But, of course she was going to make it.
Thanks to the Targaryen dragon blood running through her veins, Daenerys survives the inferno. And when she rises from the ashes, she's not alone.
What was very important when we were staging that scene is that these creatures are extraordinary creatures, the likes of which have not been seen in hundreds of years. And so when they're born and you see that look on Ian Glenn, who plays Jorah Mormont's face, that look of just astonishment, and it's as if the dinosaurs were roaming the earth again. It's as if you and I saw, you know, a Tyrannosaurus Rex, just right there. That's what this is.
It drops hints all the way along that, you know, the dragons are where the real power lies. So when they emerge, you know that this is going to change everything forever.
I was on set for some of those scenes that we filmed in Malta. It's all done with computer animation, so I'm seeing Amelia acting out these scenes with like a green tennis ball and a stick. But seeing them when the CGI wizards had gotten hold of them, crawling over her shoulder and all that, it was perfect. Yeah.
Blood of my blood.
Well, it's almost like a rebirth, but she's no longer Daenerys Stormborn. She's Mother of Dragons, literally.
They're frolicking on her naked body, 3 of them clearly her children. You couldn't get a more powerful emblem of the strength of this woman, and that's why all the men bow down in front of her.
You don't see if she's naked or not, because you just see the power and the pride in her eyes.
You see this adult woman in the most vulnerable position, but with this growing strength from inside, and everything's been left behind, it's been burned away.
They worship her. When she's with the dragons, she is the mother of dragons, and a pretty scary mother.
A glimpse of these creatures is where it all began in season 1.
We see them before the titles in the very first episode. And people talk about them as if they're just mythical creatures.
But we've had to wait until season 5 to see the White Walkers unleash their full might. At number 2, it's a big moment for the Night's King. It starts oh so quietly. Jon Snow has ventured north beyond the wall to Hardhome to urge wildlings to join him.
How many are with us? 5,000?
Jon Snow is trying to get all the wildlings out of there, onto the boat. And then we come.
Shut the gate!
There's no way that just shutting the gate is going to keep us out.
This zombie foe is the more terrifying because nobody knows what they actually want.
I guess they want the world. They want what everyone else wants. Winter's coming, and the cold starts going further south, and they'll move further south, won't they? So it's kind of defending against them.
They definitely don't want peace and love. That I can tell you. So during the attack, the Night's King is up high on a ridge watching it with some of his commanders. Not fighting, of course. He wouldn't need to, not with his best soldiers down there.
And it's now that our hero finally comes face to icy face with the enemy he fears above all others.
Jon Snow knows that Dragonglass can defeat the White Walker, and there's Dragonglass in the room, but he can't get it in time.
It's just his stillness, it's just how rigid he was as he jumped down. I thought, oh my God, he is terrifying.
And I think it's very rare we see a scene on anything, movie or TV, where we really don't know what's going to happen next moment. Every moment is completely unexpected.
Jon Snow catching his sword with the White Walker's sword, and it doesn't break. So he's like, whoa, this thing can't kill me. This sword is like Dragonglass, it's Valyrian steel. And that's the moment even the White Walker sees that now it's like a challenge, now it's a competition. And he kills him.
The Night's King sees Jon kill one of his best men. He's observing what's going on. I think it's with a look of curiosity. There's a curiosity and intrigue with who this Jon Snow character is.
I thought it was a fantastic moment when Jon took on the White Walker, facing certain death and defeated him.
But it is a fleeting victory. Jon Snow is about to witness the full might of his enemy's arsenal.
You have a king of the White Walkers who clearly knows how to do strategy.
In fact, the Night's King has the most fearless army in existence.
They're not just wandering around killing, they really are battling. They're fighters.
Soldiers with nothing left to lose.
The Whites are basically a reanimated dead.
We're coming down off the cliff, following, but even the way that they moved was quite extraordinary.
All of these bodies just pile over the wall, just taking a shortcut, like pile over this cliff and just pile onto the bottom, and then all of a sudden...
They're crucial to the White Walkers. I mean, terrifying, an army that will do anything. Has no fear, even of death, obviously, because they're dead.
I watched it about 4 or 5 times in the period of a week and held my breath every single time.
Then, as Jon is forced to beat a retreat, old Blue Eyes ventures down for his curtain call.
That great moment at the end where I raised my arms, when I read that in the script, it gave me goosebumps.
Jon Snow's petrified. He realises the scale of what is actually happening.
It's a great moment. It's one of the greatest moments I think I've ever been involved with.
And he's looking directly at Jon Snow and he's like,
Come at me, bro, kind of moment where he raised his hands.
That extraordinary moment when he did that and he got those people to rise. And
it was amazing, absolutely amazing.
What more terrifying thing can you see than a whole new army suddenly come from the bunch you just killed. It's a challenge to John, and look what I can do.
How do you fight that?
The White Walkers are the real threat to every single man, woman, and child in the kingdom. They are the real threat to every living thing.
We're just feeding their army, that's all that's happening. You lose, they gain.
You don't have a chance.
We've reached the climax of our countdown, and in a show rotten with skullduggery, gut-churning endings, and eye-gouging vengeance, there's only ever going to be one winner. Remember to breathe. It's the Red Wedding.
I knew what to expect, and yet I watched it like...
I was screaming at the television. Absolutely screaming at it.
It's such a shock. It really is such a shock. It's one of those moments where you can't believe it.
You may now cloak the bride and bring her under your protection.
It started so well. As Catelyn's brother Edmure gets hitched to Roslyn Frey, things are finally looking up for the beleaguered Stark family.
There's almost like a seed of hope for the family, that possibly they've taken a turn for the better.
King Rob has made amends for slighting Walder Frey by reneging on his deal to marry one of his daughters, and spends the evening planning for the future with his beautiful, pregnant wife.
Boy or girl?
I don't know. But if it's a boy, I know what we should name him.
Oh, do you? It seems to me the father should have some say in his son's naming.
Eddard.
But this being Game of Thrones, peace doesn't reign for long.
Everything has consequences, and that sense of the burgeoning, the relentless accounting of consequences from actions is what makes it so compelling.
Catelyn, in her heart, knew that you do not break a promise. You do not break a promise if you are the King of the North, and also you certainly don't break it to Walder Frey. The first moment that initiates the change of thought for Catelyn is when the band strikes up. It heightens her awareness. It's like if she was an animal and she smelled blood. This was the start of it. What is going on here?
The tension is built so brilliantly in that scene. It really is. There's something not quite right.
The growing menace.
I feel I've been remiss in my duties.
And then slowly, you get the feeling that something awful is going to happen.
And she spots that the man next to her is actually wearing chainmail under his outfit, and she tries to warn Rob.
Rob! And then finally, it's Armageddon.
Shockingly brutal, utterly devastating, and horribly compelling. The Red Wedding is arguably the most traumatizing moment in TV history.
It's brave, it's ballsy, it's insane. Everything that we've come to expect and love from Game of Thrones.
The whole goal there was for me to build it up to the point of most jocular, most happy, and the most powerful moment, and then pull the rug out from under the audience and actually hit them in a way that they'd be emotionally scarred by that. And that was my goal, was to do just that.
The king in the north arises.
It really is such a shock. It's one of those moments where you can't believe it. It's the cruelty of it, and it's the relishing of it. And it's the fight for survival right up until the end. There's still something honorable and powerful and wonderful in that grief.
Lord Walder! Lord Walder, enough!
She's just visceral, isn't she? She's wild, completely full of maternal instincts.
Rob, get up! Get up and walk out! Please! Please! And why would I let him do that?
For her, it's not even about her own life at that point.
Let him go, or I will cut your wife's throat.
At every stage of this scene, you think there is going to be some kind of bargain here.
Maybe there's some hope, maybe there's some redemption.
I'll find another.
Mother.
The Lannisters send their regards.
And the only point that she goes, fuck it, is after she watches her son get killed.
The horrible caterwaul that comes out of her, it just sticks with you. I mean, it's very real.
Her resignation when she's standing there, it's just a beautiful stillness, a peace, a sort of surrender. It's extraordinary TV.
Well, there you have it. The way you voted for it. The 20 greatest Game of Thrones moments. Heroes were lost. Firepower was launched. And a thirst for royal vengeance unleashed. If that's left you hungry for more, fear not. Season 6 is coming, and scores will be settled.